Okay. As
So
you were saying.
I'll repeat for the sake of the recording. Um, so the biggest thing that I think Vault integration brings is that separation of duties. And so that's a lot of times, this is the conversation I have with the customer. Like, today we can do environmental variables, and I don't love the fact that you can reveal them, but that's totally, like, that's a very minor thing.
We're looking to fix that too. So no sweat
Yeah.
on that.
It's actually come in super handy because I've forgotten my tokens a bunch of times, and I just go back there and I get them back. Not the best thing, but
No.
but like, that element is like, that's one. The dev team has the secret. They put it in. The permissions level for the project dictate whether they can see that or not. They're not super fine grained, and they're intermixed with like everything else, right? Like, the ability to merge to master is the same permission as to add a secret, right?
Right.
So what Vault brings is that separation of duties, where a secure team or an infrastructure team or a cloud team or somebody else whose job it is to create and manage secrets, they put them in Vault, and then the dev team consumes that in an automated fashion, where they don't have to do anything. They get the latest secrets. It's just easy for them to consume, right?
Right.
And then ideally they don't have any access. So my video, the one I did, I spent more time on the Vault policy than probably anything else, trying to understand that, of like, how do I get it where when I log in as Brad, I can't see the secret, but maybe I can update it, or maybe I can create a new version of it or something like that, where I had some interaction. This is all Vault policy, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But my runner has the ability to actually see the secret, right? Like, I want them to
Right.
see, I want runner to see the key value, because that's where rubber meets the road, where like they actually need to execute on it. And so I followed the issues of this Vault integration, and the YAML, like the proposal in the MR you just sent me, is one really long. And then I started reading the comments, and it looks like, and I'm pretty far down here because I've been reading the issue ones, but I realized there's more discussion in this MR
Right.
that I wasn't following. The proposal of moving it into variables seems really interesting. Like, I'm like halfway through this story. Like, I'm at the peak, right? So my initial thoughts are, one, can we create a separation of duties, right? Like, that's a business objective number one. How does a security team be able to manage the secret, get just the amount of data that they need to get to the dev team, and the dev team consumes that in the least amount of configuration possible, right? And then they really shouldn't have access to those secrets if they're being consumed via pipeline. There's probably ways to work around it, but that's, you're going to be hard pressed to avoid that. So what I spent a lot of time trying to understand was, okay, I do Terraform code and stuff like that, and so I need cloud keys to deploy to deploy infrastructure. Like, that's the demo I've been using, or that's kind of the use case I'm using for Vault secrets. So I've officially been able to move all of my secrets out of GitLab into Vault, and now I can deploy all my infrastructure through Vault integration, kind of an advanced version of the demo that I recorded. And I've got all that code. The challenge I found was the application that I'm deploying really depends on environmental variables. So I needed, my secrets originally were in GitLab, and they come down as environmental variables. That's a well-known pattern. It's worked amazing. Now that I introduced Vault, I created like way more steps to like get the secrets from Vault, load it into Runner, the authentication, and then push them into environmental variables. And so I had to do this every step of the way. And with the way I've got my project set up, I need secrets pretty much at every job. So like, I've got 3 or 4 jobs in a pipeline. I need to do this for every single job. It's not just the final like deploy to production one. Like, I need the database secret for this final deploy, right? So every job I'm taking the hit of logging into Vault, getting the secret, loading into environmental variables. My tokens expire every 60 seconds. So I need something that will auto renew the token. so I can continuously get that secret. Maybe I have secret A in the very beginning of the job, at secret B at the end of the job, and I need to be able to do that. So all of those things kind of came to light as not shortcomings, but things I had to account for. So I found a couple of things to help me. So I was hesitant to use just random code off of GitHub. So I found env console, which is a small tool that HashiCorp has, and they have it it supports both Vault and their console product. So console being their key value thing. And then Vault just being the secure version of that, I think. And then they say in their documentation, hey, Vault's great for secrets, but if you need to get them into environmental variables, use this tool. And so that's what I did. I used env console to say, okay, I'm going to feed you a config file. That'll have all the information about how to authenticate to Vault. Then your job is to consume the secrets out of Vault, load them into environmental variables, and I'll let you transform them because they might be in a different format in Vault than you want them in your environmental variable. It might be lowercase db password when you really need uppercase db underscore password or something, right?
Right.
So there was a translation mechanism, all these things. And then that loaded into environmental variables. It handled all of the reauthentication and the token expiration and all that. And then I was able to execute my job. But there was a lot of, there's a lot of, I don't want to say drawbacks to it, but it's kind of a manual hack, right?
Right.
So what I would love in our integration is to take all of that hacky work out of the way and jump straight to the point of being able to, I've got a secret as an environmental variable and that's it. Like I tell you where the secret's located and what environmental variable I want it to look like. And that's it, right? And then there might be some additional information on authenticating to Vault or something like that, which I think we can have global snippets or, local or a config file. I've seen kind of all those different things proposed. There's probably pros and cons to both. Does that make sense? Let me just stop rambling for a second.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. That's kind of why I sent you this MR to get your feedback on if you feel like this instrumentation that we're going down would solve your initial ask of removing like the crunchiness and the manual lift that you had to do to leverage the JWT as a part of your project.
I've read until Camille's idea 1 and idea 2. I haven't read that yet. But that's where I'm getting to.
Okay.
And then my question would be what's best for feedback? I'd probably just posting in this MR is usually the most preferred. I'm just bad at that. I'm better at rambling than I am typing everything out.
But that's totally okay. I would say it would be helpful to get your perspective in this MR because, again, like the more fine details, like I can of course reiterate to Camille that, it'd be great if we can just get all of the Vault secrets as environment variables inside of GitLab. But that doesn't really give us the, like the tangible, right now the YAML file is limiting in a couple of ways, in that the configuration for Vault is still super manual. It's a copy paste thing. And then of course we have like, hard coding of those like auth methods that are in that YAML file versus it leveraging, a variable. But I think what I did hear from your narrative there is that if we're able to abstract the manual lifting of entering in token reference variables into GitLab and remove that step completely and have that be automated, that would reduce a lot of this back and forth that you're having to do between Vault UI and GitLab UI.
Yeah. The other thing, and I've seen this kind of being debated, is where is some of this stuff implemented? Is it in Rails or is it in Runner? Right? Like whose job is it to pull these secrets? And I'm sure there's pros and cons.
We already decided on the runner implementation for this. So that's in a different MR. This is more like what logic Rails will be handling.
Yeah.
But runner will already be fetching those secrets from
directly.
Yeah, from Vault. And that's this MR right here.
Okay.
So the runner side is really efficient. We have the definition already built out, and we are proceeding with that work. That should be shipped in like 13.1. This syntax for the CI and how the config will be processed on the Rails side is what we're trying to hash out right now.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. We'll get customer feedback on it, because I think for me, it could be both ways, right? Like, just one, I think we want a per job authentication. Like, we want it as tight as possible.
Right.
So that makes a ton of sense. Runner may not always be able to access Vault, which might be problematic, right? Because we might have connectivity issues. Like, runner is out in a cloud VPC somewhere, and Vault exists centralized in maybe an on-prem data center, right? Mm-hmm. That might be problematic, but that could be a Rev 2.
Right.
But we'll figure that out. Okay, let me finish reading and look through those elements of it, and I think I so far I'm liking the variables syntax.
Perfect.
Because I think that's kind of straightforward, and it creates an automatic mapping between them. So let me finish reading that, and then I'll put some feedback into the MR, and we can always do another live session if we want.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Brad.
Thanks,
this was
Jackie.
Super helpful. I really appreciate it. I will, after you're done decomposing this, I would love to have another coffee chat with you to unpack your separations of duties issue a little bit more. Because I have this other work stream that I'm partnering with, and I'm sure you probably have to go, but this second issue I just chatted out is adding a role to give a very distinct like deployer permission to GitLab that doesn't give people access to the source code. Because that's the biggest thing that we have today, is that there's no separation between who can deploy and who can't, other than MR approving and push rules.
Yeah, interesting. That's come up in customer conversations too. And I think, without reading your stuff there, Azure DevOps makes a big claim around that. They're like, oh, we have very tight controls of who's allowed to do deploys and things like that. And I've had a number of Microsoft customers who've come back to me and they're like, so what's your story around this?
Exactly.
So, yeah. Okay, cool.
Perfect. Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Let me know if you need anything. Bye.
Bye.